Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. What's up, guys? Let's start our video with a story about a locksmith facing a painful phone call while trying to enjoy his well-deserved break. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Locksmith Chronicles. The key to losing my patience. I'm a locksmith. I deal with keys all day, and a big part of that is car keys. Most people, I assume, would realize that different cars have different keys. Most people. I was sitting in the bathroom enjoying quiet time for the first time all morning. I forwarded the shop phone to my cell so there wasn't any connection issues since the bathroom's in the back of the building. I'm sitting there, chillaxing, checking out some dank memes when the phone starts ringing and my eyes roll back into my head so hard I can see myself in 10 years. I answer the phone. Locksmith, I mutter professionally. Yeah, I was just wanting to know how much it costs to get a key made, the voice on the line says, seemingly a woman in her mid-30s. I can hear the haircut in her voice. And you know exactly which one I mean. Well, that depends what kind of key, I reply. It's metal with plastic on the top of it, says the female. My eyes, unable to roll back any further, give up and close. Okay, and what does it go to? I ask, slightly annoyed. My car, the woman says vaguely. At this point, I no longer have any desire to enjoy my porcelain throne time, paid or otherwise. I cross my arms and legs and continue my line of questioning. And what kind of car do you have? I ask, praying to every god under and over the sun that she'll give me a solid answer. A Chrysler, she says, knowing exactly how much she's making me want to speak to her manager. And what model? I squeak. 300, she answers, like a bad tender conversation. At this point, I can feel myself slowly sliding off the seat, but I don't have the strength to stop myself. I ask the next question, but this time I'm smart. I ask two questions. What year is that, and did it have buttons on it, or was it just a plain key? Thinking I outsmarted the wench, I confidently await her answer. It's a 2005. What was the other question? I try my best to stop myself from hanging up, and I repeat my question. Oh, it's the button one. I breathe a sigh of relief, thinking the pain is over before my eyes snap open, and I realize the horror that there's another question to ask. And where is the car? I ask, thinking that all along she had lost her key and needs a replacement. At my house, she replies, as I feel my blood start to boil in my veins, my hearing starts to fade, and my vision blurs. Is that in city we're in, I ask, clawing at the vein bulging from my temple. Yeah. Finally, the end of the questions. I'm free. Okay, then it'll be about $180 for the key, programming, trip out to you, and everything else that needs to be done, I tell her. She screeches in my ear. What? Why is it so much? I had you guys make a copy a few months ago, and it was only $85. I have the receipt, causing my brain to go into fight or flight mode and making me very glad I was on the toilet in that moment. When I collect myself and realize what she said, I feel a wave of anger unlike anything I've felt before. So you didn't lose your keys, you just need to know how much for a copy? Yes. And you had a receipt this whole time telling you exactly how much that costs? Yes. In this moment, all I wanted to do was remove my single Bluetooth earbud, lower it between my legs, and release the most ungodly noise upon her ears. But unfortunately, I took the moral high ground and simply replied, yes, $85 is the price for just the key. I may have lost this battle, but sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good, and in this case, the greater good was my paycheck. This story hits way too close to home for anyone who's ever dealt with frustrating customers. Seriously? She had the receipt with the price and still made you jump through all those hoops? That's nonsense. Also, the timing. Of course this happens while you're trying to get 5 minutes of peace. It's like the universe just knows. The worst part is you kept your cool. I don't know how you didn't just hang up when she hit you with, what was the other question? I'd have lost it. Props to you for keeping it together even when she didn't deserve it. And our second story. When stinginess backfires. The tale of the Indian restaurant boss. Bit of a background here to get you in the mood. Me and my best mate worked at the same Indian restaurant, more of a takeaway type deal, as there was only like 3 tables a few years ago. The boss is an absolute idiot. He comes from a very wealthy family and had the restaurant handed to him by his father. He didn't have a clue how to run things properly, nor knew a single recipe. He was very stingy, underpaid his workers, and kept making the chefs alter recipes to use worse quality ingredients. Food there was actually so nice and was a very busy shop, but is now dying down a bit because the quality of the food is going down, etc. There wasn't an official roster or anything. He would just text your shifts at the beginning of the week. After a while, if you kept the same shifts, he wouldn't text you anymore, and they were the shifts you did every week. I worked both out the front serving and in the kitchen as a kitchen hand, dishy. My mate worked only as a dishy. One night, we both started at 5. We got to work about 5 minutes early, and we're starting to get ready. The boss doesn't get there until about 5:30. At 4:58, my mate got a text saying that he didn't have a shift today, 2 effing minutes before starting. So he left and decided to go to the pub just down the road and meet up with some other mates. At about 5:10, some Indian bloke that I've never met before came in and said he was working on the dishes today. Majority of the staff are foreigners. He hires them because he pays them even less than what he pays us Australians. Now that shift is a tough shift. The chefs get there about 4 to 5 hours before a kitchen hand, so there's literally a mountain of dishes to do. In reality, the shift should start at about 3, even earlier for a new person. At about 5:30, just before the boss got there, the new kitchen hand goes F this and leaves. Now, I'm guessing you can see where this is going, LMAO. The boss then rings my mate and asks him to come to work and said there was a mix-up. Obviously, he refuses and says he's at the pub and can't come. The boss then asked me to finish out the front early and then go do the dishes afterwards. I finished at 8 or 8:30, can't remember. Sounds like a good deal. Do about 8 hours worth of dishes starting at 8 p.m. at night. Yeah, nah. I tell him I already have plans and couldn't stay any longer than my actual shift. Of course, my plan was to meet my mates at the pub. Found out the next day that the boss had to do all the dishes himself. It was very satisfying that him being stingy actually caught up to him for once. So glad I'm out of that place now. Bonus, on weekends we were usually very busy, lines out the door. Our naan-breads are made fresh, and it's a very tough job to make them fast enough. Our best naan-chef was absolutely pumping them out, but 1 out of 1,000 wasn't up to my boss's standards, and he shouted at him. Naan-chef just said F you and quit on the spot. We got so pumped that night, but it was hilarious and made me happy. What a tale. Your boss honestly sounds like the classic out-of-touch owner who never had to actually work for anything. I love that you stuck to your plans and didn't let him guilt-trip you into staying late to deal with his disaster. Knowing he had to scrub that mountain of dishes himself must have been a huge satisfaction. And our last story. Stealing my electricity back from the landlord. About 15 years ago, I rented a small unit in a rundown apartment complex that can best be described as a Frankenstein of different rental setups. Picture this. A single large 2-story building with 4 apartments, 3 small single-story houses, a car dealership, and a shady management company running the whole circus. In this chaos was the cottage, my 2-bedroom unit. It was small but cozy, with a kitchen that was decent size for the $500 a month I was paying back then. It shared a wall with a tiny laundry room and a utility closet housing water heaters for the complex. It seemed like a sweet deal. Until I realized my gas meter powered both my apartment and the laundry room. When I first noticed, I confronted the property manager. Their solution was laughable. I was supposed to calculate my gas usage by estimating what the laundry room consumed. They claimed they'd run a few days of tests while the unit was vacant before I moved in, and I was to subtract that amount from my total usage each month. Spoiler, their estimate was complete bullcrap. Somehow every load of laundry for a family of 6 in unit number 3 didn't factor in, and my credit for the first month came out to about $2. $2 for heating water and running dryers for 8 other units. Please. It became crystal clear they weren't going to do right by me. Fast forward about a year, one night I was troubleshooting some electrical issues with the new game server I'd built. I cut the power to my unit at the breaker panel and realized something bizarre. Some of my outlets still had power. Cue my WTF moment. After some investigating, I figured out that every outlet along my shared wall, the one next to the laundry room, was on the same circuit as the laundry room. In other words, the power to that section of my apartment was on the Landlord's tab, not mine. This was a game changer. A switch flipped in my head, and I decided it was time to even out all the nonsense they'd pulled with the gas bills. I rearranged my apartment to maximize my newfound electrical bounty. Every big power-draining device I owned got plugged into those outlets. My massive CRT TV, VCR, remember those? DVD player, Xbox, GameCube, PSX, 2 gaming PC, and dedicated server to name a few off the top of my head. And that was just the beginning. I even got myself a small 120-volt dryer and a custom washer that plugged into a standard outlet, so I never had to pay to use the laundry machines again. For the next 8 or 9 years, I lived in bliss, leeching as much electricity as I could from the circuit tied to the landlord. Every load of laundry I washed, every game I played, every movie I watched, all on their dime. I like to think of it as balancing the scales for all the gas charges I ate over the years. Did they ever figure it out? Not that I know of. I moved out eventually, but part of me likes to imagine the day they finally realized what was happening, if they ever did. Let's just say if I were to tally it up, I'd like to think we called it even. I'd love to know how they reacted when they discovered this years later. I think anyone in your shoes would have done the same. Expecting you to estimate the gas consumption of the shared laundry room was absurd. $2 to power machines used by the entire complex? Super cheeky. But on the other hand, discovering the shared electrical circuit was a gift. Rerouting all your energy-hungry appliances to theirs, including the washer and dryer, was the perfect solution. You didn't just get revenge, you balanced the scales for years of their stupidity. Also, Landlord was lucky you didn't start mining bitcoins. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.